Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another episode of Confessions of a Domestic Engineer, or as I like to call it, Code. And before we get into this episode, I am going to say it now. Subscribe to Patreon. That helps put a little money in my pocket. Outside of that, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button if you like the content of this video. Let's get into this episode. Come on, guys, roll it! Alright, so this is, as I mentioned, the last gardening episode of the year. This is going to pick up more or less where the last one finished off, with me removing stuff from the garden, moving stuff in the garden, taking out the last of the plants. It starts off, you think it's going to be a little slow here, but then all of a sudden, hey, look at that. We kick it up into high gear. Okay, so once we're into high gear, we're just moving along at this point here. I had the camera mounted up in the tree, which is why it's shaking a little bit like that. I kind of like the jittery effect of it. Some people are going to be annoyed by it, but I think it feels natural, especially when you see all the leaves going around it. If you look to the left-hand side, you will see my white widow plant. Ooh, the white widow. Okay, anyways. All I'm doing is trying to take the dirt pile that's there, spread it out, mainly use it to fill up the other pile that's there where I've been throwing old vegetation into it because the composter can only hold so much as I go. I should mention, as I always like to mention, in Canada, it is perfectly legal to grow 4 cannabis plants on your property. So, that White Widow marijuana plant that is there is 100% totally legal. I am not breaking any laws whatsoever. I love living in Canada. It's got a few good perks. That's one of them. I know there's not too much exciting or interesting really going on here. You can just see me doing hard work and you see the wind blowing everything around. And this footage is in 4 times the speed. I just like for people to see the actual work that has to go into this. And it's not, I'm out there busting my ass. It's nothing exceptional. It's nothing special. It's just basic gardening work that has to go into it. And I don't mind doing the work, it's wonderful that way. Um, I will probably have to order fresh dirt to fill in the new a new box because I plan on building at least 1 or 2 new boxes in the new year. So, well, in the new year, in what is it, 2022, I'll be building some extra boxes and whatnot, and going from there. Here's a close-up view of the pile of dirt that I'm working on digging out, and what you can see here now is I'm actually digging the grass out of the bottom. That's where the last of the peppers were at this time. This video was shot probably mid-October. I really got behind on doing some of these episodes and whatnot. Might even been a little closer to the end of October. Actually, I think it was. I think it was a little closer to the end of October. I want to say, I know it was before Halloween for sure. I'm not sure how long before Halloween. Anyways, I'm digging out all the grass there, so there's no grass growing underneath where I'm going to fill in with the dirt, because that big clump of dirt you see sitting in front of you, that's what's going to fill in the last of it there. But, if I can take out as much dirt and weed as possible, and not the good weed, I love the good weed. It's not the good weed, though, unfortunately. If I can take out as much of the good weed as possible, I will take out as much of the good weed as possible, and I just kind of work my way through with the rest. Here you can see I'm trimming up the peppers, just cutting them down, and I'm just gonna, I think I just throw them into the dirt pile. Oh no, do I start putting them in there? Oh, I'm actually taking peppers out as I go. I'm taking out the last of the peppers of the season. These were absolutely 100% the last peppers. I used some of them. A lot of them didn't end up getting used up in time. There was just too much going on. You can see with the rest of the plant, I'm just throwing all the debris down in there because it's going to naturally compost and mulch in there over winter, which is great, extra nutrients, putting it back in. It's what we want, right? Especially since I don't use fertilizers. Nothing that would be a real fertilizer. I am gonna possibly next year look into maybe using a little bit of fish, but I haven't put a lot of detail into that yet. And the reason why I might start using fish is we have some invasive fish species here in the Great Lakes specifically, but in the Detroit, Essex County area where you got the Detroit River and you got Lake St. Clair. We do have some invasive species, and I do know some people that fish. And when you catch one of those invasive species, it doesn't count towards fish counts or anything like that. And they want you to take them out, and they want you to exorcise them from the water. Well, why waste the bodies when I can use them as fertilizer? Because fish does work good as a fertilizer. I've seen it in numerous videos, and there's been scientific evidence. It's even in The Sims, okay? Even The Sims uses fish for fertilizer. Different fish will work in different ways, and I have to do a little more research on the specific invasive species that I'll be dealing with in the area. But it's a good natural product to use, and that's what I'd like to use when I go to do the gardens up next year. As for the rest of this, you can see I'm pulling out weeds as I go through here because it is always great to weed your garden as you go. The more weeds I take out now, the less weeds will be in there in the spring. You're still going to get weeds in the spring, and to pretend differently would be lying to myself and to be lying to you as the viewer. We're not going to do that. There are some things I could do to help prevent seeds and whatnot getting in there. I could put a flat piece of wood over the top of it that's the same size to box it in. That's a waste of wood. I could put tarp over it, and I have thought about putting tarp over it to help stagnate any additional weed growth, but I don't know if I really want to spend the money on that this year. We'll see how it goes in the spring, and then maybe I'll make that judgment call for next year. I haven't made up my mind yet on that. And here you can see I'm also pulling out all the additional sticks. When it came to the pepper plants, instead of putting cages or anything like that around them, all I did was use the thicker branches that I had cut off of the tree earlier in the year. And you're going to see video footage coming up later on of me actually burning off some of the excess branches and whatnot too. And here I'm just, rotating some of the dirt over a little bit because I have to move the box. I want to shift the box, and every time I got to shift the box, I got to dig out a little bit of dirt and then shift the box based on that. The bright side is it'll move the box closer to the big clump of dirt that I need to finish taking out. Now, remember, folks, bend with your knees, bend with your knees, bend with your knees. I try to bend with my knees as much as possible. This was also right after I broke my hand and I had gotten the brace taken off. I think this was like the second or third day after I had the brace off where I was actually doing like real work. I could be wrong. I think I might have been out before that. But I still have to take it somewhat easy on my hand is the point I'm getting at because, I got to build the strength back up. The bones got away from the fully bend, stuff like that. I love giving you guys these cool little views like this. And what you see there, that was dirt that was already there. I'm just digging up the dirt that was left behind. That's from moving the box over. I'm digging out underneath it there, trimming it just a little bit so the box will drop down into the exact spot I want it. As you can see, now I'm walking on it and getting it into place. And then back to filling up the rest of the box with that excess dirt. As you can see, this part goes a lot faster. Then I'm going to have to go pick up all the peppers eventually and move them. This is me deciding what I'm going to do. So I do it the old-fashioned way, man. Fold up the shirt, put the peppers in the shirt, and let's take it off. All right. And I disappear off the screen as I go to, I think it was in the porch, or I might have taken them straight in the house. I probably could have cut this footage here, but why not listen to me ramble instead as I come back? Okay, here we go. The big black thing on the post there, that is my speaker I'm listening to. There is no music in the background for that reason. Depending on if I get flagged for the video I did rebuilding my drum set, which has music in the background playing, I may not cut the music out in the future. There is a second reason for cutting out the music here as well, and that's because video footage I use a little bit later on is from a camera that does not have the ability to record sound at all. Now, if you're one of my regular viewers, you may or may not have noticed that I managed to take all the dirt from all the boxes, and I mushed them all together and moved them on over. You're going to see that I didn't add any boxes. I haven't added any dirt yet. The only thing I've added at this point is I've added plant refuse. And you're going to see more video footage where I add more plant refuse coming up a little bit later on, because then I get to the point where I'm trimming the tomato bushes and I start throwing all that in there. I have to get out there one more time to finish working on the garden. I'm not going to videotape it. I'm not going to produce it. And basically, I'll explain more about that when I get out to that part of the video footage. Now, this is just me. I have multiple compost sections set up now, and I'm slowly working on it in different spots. And here I'm just working on cleaning up the backyard in general. The backyard was just turning into a complete gardener mess nightmare kind of thing. Yeah, that's one of my new compost sections over there. I believe I have already... Yeah, I've already put up the video footage where... Or did I not? Oh, no one has seen the video footage yet. Okay, so this is the video footage of me building the little compost corner in the back there. That was where my dirt pile was. If you're one of my regular viewers, you would have seen the big dirt pile in the early part of the season. Well, what I did is I had all these extra bricks from all this extra work, my projects around the house, and one of those being the side of the house, which I've already done as well. These are all the leftover bricks. So I use leftover bricks just to make a small mini wall. I didn't use any mortar or anything like that. They're just sitting there loose. They're layered like Lego bricks, sort of, I try to give them the nice optimal layering so they can support themselves without having to add cement or mortar or anything like that in there, because I don't want it to be a permanent thing. I just want something to stop the compost from, one, sliding over into my neighbor's yard, two, sliding back into my plants now that my one garden bed is right up against the fence. It's not very pretty watching it from this angle. You don't see a whole hell of a lot at this moment, unfortunately. But I wanted to put the camera over on the car where there was a distance so you could see kind of what was going on. You see the rock pile going down as we go here. And the idea ultimately is just to have a nice corner where I can put all the weeds and stuff like that. Like, I've been using bins and I've been using garbage pails and I've been using stuff like that for all the weeds and that. They work to a small degree, but for the weeds and that, I just want to be able to turn over the pile, go out there periodically, turn it over, stuff like that. And I want to have more vegetation composters. Like, I actually want my bins to be vegetation composters for the future, and all my weeds and stuff like that just to be loose, kind of in the back there. It's not, once again, it's not pretty, it's not perfect, but it's not meant to be pretty or perfect. It's meant just to be my little compost section, in a section that I was originally gonna, try and put a paved patio driveway into this year, but broke hands, so that really kiboshed those plans. Plus, that's a lot of work to do as well. And I love doing these little 3 scenes. Now, this was not the same thing going on at 3 different times. As you can see, the camera, it's just 3 different camera views. That's all it is. I'll give you 3 different views of the work and how detailed I was going into it. And I wanted something to look a little prettier than just the distance, and there was a lot of distance footage. And this is all sped up as well. Excuse me. As I mentioned with the Lego laying, that was just, putting 2 bricks, 2 bricks, 2 bricks, 2 bricks, 2 bricks, and then going from there and just, filling it up. And you can see now that I'm going and I'm just putting all the extra compost back in. These are a lot of branches in that. This is all stuff that needs dirt thrown on top of it to help it break down. And because of where it was thrown over in the other pile, it wasn't going to break down properly. And the dirt that you see me moving there, that was just excess dirt that was sitting there that I was just using to throw on top. Because once again, that's where the dirt pile sat last year. So the dirt pile that eventually became my gardens. And in a moment, we're going to switch over to a different view. The new view that we're going to switch over to is going to be using the newly installed security cameras that I put in. So when I go and put in the new, when you go and shift over to that video footage, you can see me doing the newly installed security cameras. I'm going to cut to different voice overdub section. So hope you enjoy. Here we go. Woo! This is an insert. Look at the insert. Watch the insert. Okay, so insert. This will be an insert while you're watching video footage of me working out in the backyard, courtesy of the cameras I put in, security cameras. So let me show you there. There's one of the security cameras, and there's one of the other ones. I'm not going to go show you all of them. The reason why I'm out here right now, and I'll show you this, is right here, these connectors. I got to finish sealing those up, and then I'm going to finish tucking them in. I should have done this sooner, and I don't know how well I'm going to be able to video this, but we're going to see what we can do. Get a little inventive, maybe. But yeah, I'm going to just put some electrical tape on them, so you know they got a nice seal, and then I'm going to tuck them up into the trim there. That's the plan. Okay, here we go. I should mention while I'm doing this, it is the first official snowfall of the year, November 14th, I believe. And I just realized I forgot to bring the scissors with me. I'll be back. Scissors, electrical tape. Oh, I really should have done this sooner. I can feel that this wire's already gotten stiff from being out in the cold for too long. Oh, it's not perfect. But it looks a lot better, and it'll definitely be much more protected. One more to go. The hardest one to go. Now, before I go to do the last camera, like I've actually got 4 cameras, but one of them, the wiring actually comes all the way into my house, straight into my house. The back camera, the one that you're watching this video footage on top of. Okay, so that back camera, that one, the wire goes straight through into my house, and I actually have access to the ends in my bedroom, so that's not an issue. Out here, there's a weather issue, so unfortunately that's the best way. Now, as you can see here, I've got this wire out here as well. This wire is rated for in walls. It's not really rated for outdoor exposure. So I got to do something to give it a little extra covering, a little extra protection. So I went out and bought split loom. Split loom is a pain in the ass apparently to come by, because I know it from working in the trailer department specifically at Princess Auto, and to me it's a regular thing. Just seems commonplace. Every hardware store I went to, I couldn't find it, so I had to go to Princess Auto to get myself some split loom. Don't mean to be plugging, but this is how this worked. This here is split loom. This is all it is. It's just tube with a split in it. That's all. Just this ridge tube. It's got a split that runs all the way down it. You just use it to help cover wires, keep them safe, so they don't get screwed up by the elements. This particular one I bought, it's slightly larger than I need, but I'd rather have all three wires that are running from outside to inside covered in one nice thick split loom than have to go out and possibly buy a secondary one to cover one wire that I missed, so yeah. I don't normally shoot videos in the vertical like this, but I know I'm going to crop this and edit it, which isn't the point. I have to go outside to take care of the third wire. That means having to do this a very special way. The easiest way to go about doing this is to go through my bedroom window out onto the roof above my porch. So that's what we're going to do. But safety first, kids, so you're not going to get to see me do this way. So here's the wires running up into my room. I gotta get these all bundled up. I won't be able to film me actually doing that, or maybe, I don't know, we'll figure out what I can do here. I figured out some good stuff so far, but yeah, here we go. This is great. Once you start getting it sliding in there, it's real easy going. Oh no. Okay, that's from the original silicone, it looks like. Thought it's something that had already been fucking with my wires. This is also to help keep out little animals, because sometimes they like to get into stuff, right? And of course, I picked the worst weather to possibly do this in. Leave it to me. Telling Tracy, no, it's fine. The roof won't be slippery at all. Well, the roof's not really that slippery. But let me tell you, it's not where I want to be right now. It is still wet up here. I am still, my knee's still getting wet kneeling down here with the one foot. And the other one, I mean, it's not slick, but it's not exactly what I would call the most stable. Slightly annoying, but what are you gonna do, right? Now I am getting to a point where I just really don't want to go any closer to the edge of the roof. I do value my life. I'm happy with my life, So I don't want to do anything to fuck this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss this over the edge. Probably going to go about doing this the hard way and getting the ladder out. Finishing up the rest with the ladder. Just to be as safe as bloody possible. I'm up here on the ladder. I'm not a fan of being up on ladders. I do have a small issue with heights. I'm going to tape up these ones. I'm going to see what I can do about videotaping it. That's not going to necessarily work out so well. And then You can see that there. Now, I got a slight ladder issue with that. Apparently, I should have covered up more of the wire while I was up on the roof, so I'm going to probably have to go back up on the roof again. Not happy about that because my ladder and my wall and my eaves troughing don't exactly play well with each other. I can adjust the ladder a little bit to get me a little bit closer, but not enough. And that kind of sucks a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So let's see what we can do here. Definite sections you will miss out on seeing me do this with, like the little junction where the 3 points come together. I just electrical taped that, but there was no way to safely record it without a GoPro, and I don't have any of them charged up right now. That was fun. Now, I don't remember if I mentioned in there that my dad was the one that helped me put all the wiring and that in for the security cameras. I didn't film any of the footage of doing that with my dad because I was spending time with my dad. I didn't want to intrude on that with putting a camera in and stuff like that. You know, my dad's been coming over. We've been doing a few projects around the house, which has been really fun. And it's just that, you know, I do the projects with my dad. I'm not doing them for the camera. I'm not doing them for anything else. I just want to spend some time with my dad. And we're doing some projects, you know, doing manly man stuff, you know. We didn't get to do a whole lot of that, you know, when him and my stepmom were together and he owned a house. I was a little young, so I started doing some of it with him. I didn't get to do a whole hell of a lot of it. So now that I own my own house, my dad comes over and we get to spend that father-son time now getting to do that stuff. So, you know, it's really kind of fun. You know, unfortunately, my dad lives in an apartment now, so doing that stuff in his apartment, you know, he can't go do big projects, just little tiny itty bitty ones, you know. So he loves coming over and helping me out. And he loves doing those little projects because he doesn't get to do them the way, you know, he doesn't get to do them anymore. And I love the help, you know, experience. Experience is great. Anyways, I had mentioned earlier about me throwing the tomatoes into those planters. This was, as you can see by the date there, this was November 5th. So this would have been at least a week or so after the last section of video footage. And with this video footage, I am mainly just, like I said, finishing up the backyard, cleaning up the rest of it. At least getting the plants done. It's not the greatest view, unfortunately, of you can see what I'm doing, but you can't see how much of it I'm really clearing out as I go. You got the tree hanging over in the way a little bit, stuff like that. Um, I do know that I will not be planting the tomatoes in that section again next year. I did it once. Got to rotate the crop out into a different section. It will not be in that section. I definitely will not do as many tomatoes as I did either. That was definitely overkill. And you may have noticed throughout the video footage here that I am burning sticks, wood, branches, stuff like that. I have a barbecue that I converted into a wood burning barbecue or a charcoal barbecue. And I collect the ash and I use the ash for composting in my composting in my gardens and that. I know I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again just because people will be like, oh, should I be burning it? I personally don't have any issues with burning wood and stuff like that. I grow enough green in my backyard and everywhere around that I'm pretty sure I offset the amount that I do from doing that, especially since I don't personally drive. 6 people in my house, 2 people have cars, Only 3 people have licenses. I don't have the license or the car. I walk, bus, whatever. Not preaching either. I'm just saying, I'm okay with my burning stuff. I already have a pretty low carbon footprint to start with. And I try and reduce it all the time. Am I down to net zero? No, I'm not down to net zero, but I gotta be getting pretty close. I definitely think I'm a lot higher up than a lot of people are. Now, as you can see, I'm splitting the tomato waste between the 2 bins. I should throw some in that last bin, and when I go out and I finish the last of pruning the tomatoes, that's where they're going to go. They're going to go in the bin that's closest to the wall there. And then I just got to add dirt on top of all of them still. I haven't finished adding the dirt on yet, and I don't even know if I'll get to finishing adding the dirt on this year. I may or may not. It depends on how things go. The ground's starting to get a little bit hard, so it may get a little more difficult at this point to do it. Realistically, I'm fine with not adding any new dirt on it until next year. I will probably have to order dirt next year. I'm probably going to have to order at least 4 or 5 yards of dirt for the additional stuff I want to do with just the back garden. The front garden, there's some stuff I wouldn't mind doing with the front garden as well, but I don't really need a whole lot of dirt to deal with the front garden. I'll need a little bit to deal with the front yard. Mostly going to be mulch because I do have a lot of plans with that. And here you can just see I'm dealing with the fire. Poking it around. I didn't have a lot of brush to use as kindling to get it going very well. I only had a lot of larger sticks at this point. So my Cub Scout fire starting skills were not great. All jokes aside, but that is the truth. I was a Cub Scout, and I used to be really good at starting fires. Not doing so good starting fires here. Oops, I have to hand back my paddle card. No, alright, all jokes aside. Pyro is not good. It's fun to be able to make a fire when you need a fire, though. And make sure you keep your fires contained, folks. That is a big thing. That is why I converted a old gas barbecue into a charcoal barbecue, which I can use for burning wood, so that way my fire is always contained and I don't have a big open fire going. It's proper contained, properly managed. And this is just me cleaning up everything because I had enough for the day. Took some stuff in. And I believe that was me checking on the fire to make sure that the fire was good because I left it burning, which isn't great, but hey, what are you going to do? All right. So, folks, that is that. That is me finishing off the garden for the year. I know there wasn't anything great in there. The running the wire for the security cameras, I hope, was a little bit fun in that middle section. I hope you do enjoy this one. I will be back with more Confessions of a Domestic Engineer soon. But, as always, once again, Patreon. I haven't pitched it in a while, which is why I'm kind of pushing it a little bit hard today. I've made changes with my Patreon as well, so check that out. The other thing, once again, like button, subscribe button, share button. They're wonderful things. Peace, love, take care, and I'll see you in another review soon.